Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Joni Young and I'm going to show you guys how to paint these lily of the valley flowers. One of my favorite flowers. I think they're so delicate and sweet, and they're also just one of the most beautiful fragrant flowers. So I'm going to show you guys step by step how to paint these on a 16 by 20 canvas today. So for the full list of colors and brushes, check out the description box below and you'll see them all listed there, as well as the full-length tutorial on Patreon. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started with the first step. So for the first step, I'm going to wet my flat angle brush and I'm going to go right into my hooker's green. It's also close to sap green. I'm going to mix a little bit of black with it. And I'm just going to start adding patches and blocking in the background leaves. So just pulling from the left corner here. But see how delicate, just by using the end of the brush, you can make fine tips to your leaves, nice and skinny. I'm picking up some water each time I load my brush. This is going to really help to further the blending aspect of the paint out of my brush. So I'm just coming in and blocking in shapes. I'm not worried too much about making anything look like a perfect leaf right now or stem. This is just the background and a suggestion. So I'm just going to keep on using these colors, again with water. Nice long strokes, create some movement, gentle movement by adding a little curve and just gently pulling and sweeping off like that. So having these darker areas is really important because that's going to give you that beautiful contrast and sense of light and shadow. I'm going to start to come in right here. We're going to put a big tall leaf here. Right here. To make it show up a little bit better, I'm going to take a little bit of each of these greens. Pull, pull, nice long sweeping strokes. Could even add a little bit of white in there too. I like painting wet on wet because I just get such a smooth, buttery blending. If you're trying to add highlights, it can be a little bit tricky, but it takes a lot of practice to know the amount of paint to apply when you are painting wet on wet, and the pressure, how much pressure to use. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of each of those greens. These I actually don't have a hard time growing. Whenever I'm painting flowers, my videos, I mentioned to you guys if they've been a success or a fail. These ones grow well for me. I haven't tried them here on Vancouver Island, but They grew so well for me back in the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies. And they like the shade, so I planted some kind of just underneath my stairs and by my stairs where I had a little bit of shade, and they spread. And you would be walking down the stairs and you'd get a little breeze and you could smell them, and it was so nice. I'm gonna add a little bit of white now to create some light in here. So I'm gonna cut over, add a little bit more. I wanna make sure that it shows up. I'm gonna go right off the top. Okay, I'm gonna just cut in like this into my white. So I've got it on the end of my brush, and I'm gonna come around the edge. Very lightly. Okay, I'm gonna go over to my black again, and I'm gonna go right in here, a little triangle like this. And then I'm gonna come out like this. Actually, I'll make this a little bit bigger. And take black and that pale green. This is such an awesome brush to use for this. If you don't have one, just take a regular flat one and just cut it on an angle. And voila! Use a little bit of water here and work out what's in my brush because I've got a lot of paint in there. Now I want to come from the top and round it out. You can add a few lines in here too. Kind of scooping and twirling up like that. That gives it some movement. And then I'm going to go cut across into my light green and white and add a highlight on this side. And a little bit of light on that side as well. Remember, just very, very little pressure. And then a little light. We can go over those dark lines again at any time. Just want to make sure that when this dries, I'm still going to be left with not just like, I don't want it to dry black. I want the stem coming down here. And I'm going to start with my black and that green. So very light pressure, and then I'll push a little bit harder to make it a little bit thicker down here, and start to let off. Pick up a little bit more green. So I'm going to switch over to my round number 2 brush. Okay, so I'll take a little scoop of that on my brush. I'm going to go over like that. So you're just going to lightly pull up and curve over. Add a little bit of white to it just so that it dries nice and bright. I'm going to go over the stem, especially at the top here where it's a lot lighter. I'm going to take a little bit of both greens there. And I'm just going to drag it down like this, so we'll start to get a few highlights. And I'll just go inside. We want the inside to be darker. I'm just going to take a little of each. And we'll go ahead and add some more. This time I'm going to have it start in the center of the stem, pull out, and then down like that. And then I'll have another one right there. Another one here. You can put them and place them like wherever you want. We'll have one going up and over here. Maybe a little one there. Okay, so I think I'm ready to start coming in with the flowers, and I've got my little filbert brush. Any small round brush or filbert brush I would recommend for this step. And this of course is the little flowers. This is a number 2 if you're curious. And I'm just going to take a scoop of white, and we'll just add ones that haven't opened up yet, so they kind of fat on the top like that and round and kind of come into a point. Make it a little bit rounder on the bottom actually, now that I'm having a closer look. And a closer look here at the reference photo. Okay, so I'll just do the shape first, and then we'll come in and add some of the green on the bottom. Okay, then we're going to start a little bell shape like this. Those remind me of like little jellyfish or octopus. So scoop under. I want to do like 3 scoops. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to come over top and add another one. Go layer right over, 2 and 3. As these dry, we can add more highlights and little shadows. And I'm going to add one over here. This one's going to be on a different angle, so we'll be able to see the inside of the flower. So we're going to come out with little scoops down here and leave the inside a bit darker, just the green. I'm going to rinse out all of the white out of my brush, dry it off, and I'm just going to very lightly blend off that paint. It's not as dark as I'd like it, so I'm going to go into my green and black, but just a little bit. And right in here, make it the darkest for the inside of the flower like that. And then there's a little, looks like a little bell. So the lightest green, I'm gonna add a little thing like that. And then I'm gonna take straight white with a clean brush. And add my brightest parts of the flower. Scoop. And we'll just make the top a little bit lighter. Okay, I'll go ahead and add some more. Scoop, scoop. Now if you want, and if you have room, you can sneak in another little one, little petal showing from the other side. And I think I'm going to add another one right here. And we'll see the inside of this one a little bit. I'm going to start to just add more at this point and make up my own. Now that I'm getting the hang of it, I know what this shape basically looks like. I'm going to wash my brush off and gently blend that, making it a little darker inside, right? And then I'll add a little hint of a green bell in there. can go ahead and add more highlights now to the stem now that it's drying. I'm going to add a little bit of green down here. There's a little bit of a shadow and some green. So a little bit of black and the bright green. I'm going to go from the bottom. Add a little bit more black to make this stand out. I'm going to rinse all of that out of my brush, and then I'm going to take both of my greens, gently mix them up. A little bit more. We're going to pull up these little lines. I'll rinse my brush out again and take my lightest green, and just down here at the bottom, I'm going to add a little bit more right here. And I'm going to take a little bit more white and just add another thin layer very carefully in here, just because I don't want it to dry too dark. I'll take more white and add a little bit here on the front of the stem and the top of the little flower bud. And we can add another layer to all our flowers here. So it makes it a lot easier once the paint is dried or starts to dry. I think this is a great flower or floral painting for beginners because the shape of the flowers are really basic and simple. There's not a lot of layering like how there are for roses. Just making up lots of different areas here where I'm going to add flowers. I think I'll have some coming in from this side too, because it just looks like, and because I'm having fun painting these, but I feel like I need more over here. I'll take a bit of my greens when I add the stem. And I want to add one down here too. I think it'll show up really nicely. Take a bit of green. Okay, I'm going to go and add a little bit more of the lighter green. And then I'll take some white. I'm cleaning my brush off in between because I'm picking up some other colors along the way, and I just want to make sure that I've got a nice fresh coat of paint. Making sure that I've got nice bright highlights that aren't too muddy looking. These are so fun to paint. I say that about everything though, don't I? The one thing that I don't think is fun to paint, I'll admit, is like, or are like realistic looking roses and peonies. I think are really hard. Peonies are just beautiful, but they're like roses to paint, but way harder because they have so many different folds in them. I'm just going to take off a little bit of this paint here and get that scoop shape back. I'll have another one here. Just going to make that one a bud. I'll make this one opened, or I mean on a different angle so we can see a little bit underneath. So I'm going to wash all the paint out of my brush and push and blend some of this out. And then just gently make a very like transparent layer of white in here so you can see bits of that green underneath. Add white along the edges, and then our little dab for our little bell. I'm going to take my green, my black, come down here like I did for those ones. A little bit more black here just at the very bottom to make it show up a bit more. Another one. We'll sneak another one right in here. I'm going to do that the same thing. Blend this out. Take off a little bit of paint, and I don't want to see the leaf underneath, right? This leaf coming through, so I'm going to go over top with a little bit of black and green. Right there. I'm just going to use this for shadow. And I'll add my little dab right there. I think I just need one more right here. Okay, so I'm going to add a stem. Right here. Have it curve over. I'll have a smaller one down here. I'm going to add some white now. Start a flower right here. I'm finding I'm not needing my round brush as much as I thought I was going to. This little filbert brush works quite well. I'll make some more buds right here. Add a little bit of green. A little bit, both of the greens here. And I'm going to come inside this one that's we're able to see. Add a little bit of black and green, just like we did the previous ones. And then add our little dab of light green for the bell. Just a little bit more here. Okay, and I'm going to make some more gray. Remember, just very light. Scoop up. You can do it 3 times, and if it helps, count it out. 1, 2, 3. So you're going to leave these white lines, and if you happen to go over them, just go from the top. I'm just having too much fun painting these. So I'm just going to alternate here and add some highlights too. Which isn't working too well because I've got a little bit too much gray in my brush, so I'm just going to stick to finishing up the shadows here. A little bit. I'll try just adding a little bit more black. And then I'm going to add just a little filter of my neon purple violet. And I'm going to use my angle brush again. You can use any brush to do this that you want. Water. I'm going to start at the top. And just carefully come in. Add some down in here as well. So just wherever I have like the darkest parts. It will dry a lot darker than this too. I like this color or the shade that it is right now, don't get me wrong. But just in case you guys are kind of freaked out and you're like, no, don't add that. I mean, it's optional, of course. I do like color though, you guys know that. So you can get in all these little narrow areas with using the angle brush. That's why I like using it. That's why I chose this one. You can add just a hint on the stem as well. All right, well, I'm going to call this painting all done. This was so fun to do. And as always, have a wonderful day. Stay creative, you guys, and don't ever give up. If you love painting, then just keep going. Don't lose hope, and you'll get there. Just remember to enjoy the process. That's part of the fun. I'll see you guys all soon in my next video. Thank you so much for your support. Bye.